Vlog, May 19th, 2016. We have a teaser now for the new Star Trek series, which isn't really telling us much of anything, although I can glean some things potentially from it, and I think it might be confirming a rumor or two that I've really been wanting to talk about, but I've been holding off until we had anything. Now we have something, so I'm making a video, and some of these things could turn out not to be the case, especially the main thing I want to talk about. So if that's the case later on, of course, I'll talk about it later and take everything here with a grain of salt, I suppose. But I think it's pretty fair to make a couple of assumptions based on this trailer that I think might be this teaser that I think are trying to kind of maybe cryptically or not so cryptically even tell us that a couple of things that people have been assuming are true, and if anybody has more information than I have of confirmation of things that I've just not seen, leave links in the comments, please. But a little minute teaser, and it reminds me a lot of the teasers that we got in the 90s just before some of the Trek shows came out, especially Deep Space Nine, where it's pretty much just a logo and telling you, like, little cryptic things, and you're in space, and yay, Star Trek. And that's about it. At least there, it was like, here's a premise, and this is maybe that, but again, I'll talk about that here in a second. So we don't know who the actors are yet. We don't have really a premise for the show beyond it's new Star Trek, and isn't that exciting? New crews, new aliens, all the trappings that you expect to see in Star Trek. But I think it's really important that it says new crews, and that it's not just a new premise for here's another thing we haven't done, in Star Trek. It's not a Starfleet Academy show. It's not a Klingon show. It's Star Trek, but it doesn't look like it's going to be set on one ship. Oh man, what is it? And that's where I think that it's doing, that it's maybe going to be what all the rumors have been saying. It's got a logo, it has a title, the title is Star Trek, and just like those DS9 promo, or the first DS9 promo, really early, I think maybe even like this far in advance, where, this isn't coming out until next year, we had a logo, but it was a prototype logo, it wasn't actually what we got for Deep Space Nine. This could turn out to be that way, although I doubt it. This is probably what it'll end up looking like. I gotta say that I'm a little bit surprised that it is going to be just called Star Trek, just like the '09 movie was, and that'll make it a little bit confusing when you try to talk about Star Trek stuff in shorthand. These days we seem to be a little bit looser with that, not as worried about it, where I think maybe even producers and directors and people studio heads have these conversations now where it's like everything gets rebooted now. Might as well just call it what it was in the first place. Everybody knows that you're starting over, and everybody will just use a date to denote it. So Star Trek, the '09 movie is Star Trek '09. This will be Star Trek 2017. I might have liked having something to differentiate it, and I think I've done this rant on GNN, just because when you're looking the thing up, or you're trying to find merchandise on eBay or something, it's a lot nicer if you have some kind of a subtitle to go by, and it might have made sense, to call it like Star Trek, I don't know, depending on what the thing ends up actually being. I think it's going to be an anthology show, and you could have called it Star Trek anthologies even, I don't know, but there might be a word or two that would make a lot of sense to put in the title to denote the fact that it's going to be a different thing. Star Trek Legacy could have been a good title. Star Trek, if Generations wasn't taken, that'd be good, but I don't know how much we're going to jump around in time. The fact that it says new crews makes me think that it really is going to be an anthology show, and that it's going to be like American Horror Story and shows like that. This is getting really popular now, where it's an anthology thing, but instead of doing it like Twilight Zone, where it's a different cast and a different concept every episode, we just do that each season. And this allows us to jump around and in Star Trek and to fill in gaps and to look at different crews and to go any era we want to. And I could not be more thrilled if that's actually what we're doing. When I first heard that rumor, I was jumping for joy, hoping that that's what it was going to be. And new aliens, new crews. It looks very much like that's what it is. So here are the two assumptions that I think we can make probably based on this trailer. And again, I could be wrong about this, but A, gotta be prime continuity. I don't think there's any way around that. I don't think anybody really expects this to be J.J. Abrams continuity. I think even the producers have come out and said that they wouldn't even be able to do that if they wanted to. Because of rights between Paramount and CBS, and apparently the movie stuff has to be separate from the TV stuff. Okay, so it's probably going to be prime continuity. It doesn't look like it's going to be another reboot, and that means they can jump around and they can go any period in Star Trek lore they want to, and now all the continuity is back, and we can deal with any of that stuff. But I think it would be really easy to get people invested in a particular season just based on the premise of it, and even though they're going to have that continuity, I don't think they'll have to be a slave to it. I don't think they'll have to do it in such a way where you must really, really know your Star Trek to care. But depending on when they place things, different time periods, you could have some seasons where it'd be better to have certain knowledge to jump in. So that could be a risk that they're taking, and we'll see. I mean, I could see, if they did something, say, in the middle of the Dominion War, it might be good if you knew some Deep Space Nine. If they do, anything. There's the big rumor right now, and being that Nicholas Meyer is involved, I'll be real surprised if this isn't true also. The big rumor right now is that it's supposed to be, unless this is confirmed and I don't know it, they've been real hush-hush about this stuff, but since Nicholas Meyer is involved, the big rumor has been that it's gonna be just post Undiscovered Country, and that it's and that the Klingons might be the villains of the first season, and that there's kind of this political shakeup thing where some of the Klingons, of course, are pushing against, really resisting the accords that are signed in Star Trek VI, and don't want to be allies with the Federation. And might we see the Khitomer massacre happen in the show? I think that's very possible. It might even be likely. I think that's really exciting. But the planet with big chunks out of it that we see in this teaser has me really wondering if that's what they're going to do first season, or if first season might not be a sequel to Nemesis and to the stuff that they introduce in Star Trek 09 that takes place in Prime Canon when Spock gets sent back. Is that Romulus? You can't tell me that they didn't deliberately put a planet that looks like it's decimated and has blown it. Now, unless that's Praxis. And then you've got a sun there. So the sun could either be unless I'm reading too far into this, but those seem like really specific things to put in this teaser, right? That could, so that sun could be the sun that goes supernova and destroys Romulus, or that could be Praxis. And now the more I'm thinking about it, it maybe even looks a little bit more like a moon than a planet. Maybe it's Praxis. And if that's the case, then that's very much probably what the first season is going to end up being. But anyway, so I think it's prime. I think it's definitely prime continuity. I think it's definitely going to be an anthology show. And if that's the case, then it really probably should be called Star Trek, because, I mean, as much as I think you could have done something to make it, distinguished, the nice thing is this is a show that could go on forever. There's no reason to end it. If it's good, And if it has the viewership, and I mean the CBS All Access thing is still kind of an up in the air thing, we'll see. But if it doesn't perform really well on that platform, I imagine they'll consider moving platforms. But we'll see what happens. But if it goes well, especially of course that first season, this is the way to keep Star Trek on the air. I think we don't need more series. You just every season. You have a different crew, you have a different cast, and if something really catches on, you could do a spin-off, or you could do a second season of it, kind of like Power Rangers, where, and I mean, that's not a good example, because these days, with that, we're taking one season and splitting it into two in order to save costs, but you know what I mean, like, a lot of people would have loved, with the Power Rangers example, to see Dino Thunder get a second season, because people really loved that, but there, of course, probably wasn't enough Sentai footage, so they didn't do that. But with this, like I said, if we really loved a crew, we really loved a particular period they were playing in, they could always spin it off, they could always come back to it, they could always do a second season of that. And what I imagine will happen, now that I'm thinking about it with this title, is it probably will be like American Horror Story and what True Detective, I guess, does this. I've never watched that show. But each season has a title for the whole season, and that's probably what this will be. So, and we all know how much Nicholas Meyer loves his titles and loves going back to classic literature, so I bet he'll just look at this as a much longer Star Trek movie. I cannot tell you how stoked I am about this. This is a dream come true, if it's what it looks like. Diehard Star Trek fans that miss traditional Star Trek are in for a treat, because this doesn't just look like old school Star Trek, like the way Star Trek was done before the Abrams movies. This looks like what Star Trek was at its core, and what original series and the original series movies were all about, just in the way Meyer and Fuller have been talking about it, and then with the anthology thing, where now we can really delve into the big high concept stuff. This has the potential, and I've said this before, just with these creators, but now if this is the concept, this has the potential to be the best Star Trek we've ever had, because now you can do what Deep Space Nine did and have lengthy arcs and have a big, longer, ongoing story, but you can do, but you can have more of them, and you can you can tell one big story in a single season, so you can have a season that feels like one really well crafted episode, and maybe there'll be singular episodes inside of that, but we finally can take all of the progress we've been making with serialized television and apply it to Star Trek, because that hasn't really been done yet. Deep Space Nine was a pioneer with that, and of course people say that it ripped off Babylon 5, and that is fair, but it was pushing some envelopes, I think, in its own right, and just the fact that it was taking Bab 5's lead and trying that stuff itself, I think, was smart at that time and made sense for the premise of that show. But it, of course, had a ton of standalone episodes, and it didn't have even one full season where every episode was the next chapter in this ongoing narrative. There always were interludes. And I imagine if this is a 13-episode thing as opposed to a 22-episode thing, which I imagine it will be, I don't think we even know that yet, it's likely to be a really tightly woven narrative. I am just absolutely ecstatic about this. I can't believe this is the direction they're going. If it's everything it looks like. It's everything I've always hoped for. You guys, anything is possible now. You could have an entire season set on Earth. You could have an entire season set on a Klingon ship. You can do anything they want to. I've been waiting for something like this since before Star Trek was off the air. Because, so earlier I was saying that I think Star Trek fans are in for a treat, because this is going to be what Star Trek was even well before '09. I mean, I gotta be real, Star Trek was getting stale even before Enterprise, I think. And I mean, them's fighting words for some Star Trek fans, I realize. But Voyager wasn't great. It's got some wonderful, wonderful episodes. But just overall, and I've talked about this 1,000 times, so I won't get into my issues with Voyager, but Deep Space Nine was handled by mostly different creators, especially by the second season, than the people that were working on TNG and then Voyager, and then, of course, Berman and Braga did Enterprise together, and they were just really burnt out by then. And we've got fresh creators, fresh eyes on this, but also alum that haven't worked on it for a long time, and so they're going to be really chomping at the bit to get back to basics with Star Trek. Just 8 shades of yay. Anyway, leave your comments. Let me know what you think about this. I know this is a really long time to talk about a teaser, but I wanted to talk about all those rumors and what it looks like the show's going to be, and hopefully all that stuff gets confirmed soon, but I think this teaser is confirming quite a bit of that already. Leave your comments. Looking forward to seeing what you think about this new series and what little we can glean from this trailer, and I'll see you next time. This is Captain Logan, and thanks for watching today's Captain's Log.